Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Bud Rebel Show, a podcast like no other. We always have an amazing guest, and today is no exception. We'll get to that very shortly. We also have our weird quote Snapple facts, leadership skills. We have our issues we bring up, things I hate, which nobody else does. I have some business ideas, which hopefully you can take and make some money. Investment. I'm adding a new feature, which I'll bring up if you listen to the podcast through and through, and other exciting thoughts in between. So I want to introduce, I'm very excited about my new guest today. His name is Belle, and Belle comes with an interesting musical background, but it's much deeper than that. Belle, would you like to tell your story a bit about where you come from and how everything started with you?
Yes, absolutely. First, I'd like to say hello to every listener and you as well,
Thank
and
you.
just say thank you for having me. It's interesting. I was one of those children that was raised in the music scene. So my mother put me onto cello when I was in the third grade, maybe even earlier than that. And then I
Hold
kind
on a
of
second. What's a cello? That's one of those instruments.
oh, so it
It's not like the
the orchestra
guitar.
the orchestra instrument's like a violin, but it's the one that stands up, and we sit down and we play that instrument. So basically, it's like a large violin.
But why a cello?
I don't
I
know.
guess she's like
That's
how come I mean, you never hear about he's the most famous cello player in the world. I mean, it's an interesting instrument to pick up. A
well,
lot of
it,
rock bands and country bands have cello players that I know of. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
I'm going to let this out a little bit. I think she did it to spite my father. My father was a guitarist. I don't know. So, but I did eventually end up picking up the guitar. So
Okay. All right.
all things led
Sorry,
back to
sorry,
that.
mom.
Yeah, my apologies. But I wanted to tell that because that's a big part of the story. Just knowing that little bit of background. So I didn't come from the greatest household or the greatest home. And what a lot of people don't know is like I have age on my side. So I did actually go through a full education system from, pre-K to college. I have 2 degrees. But right after college, I had this dream of going out to California. Man, when you dream big. And it was the whole thing. I was going to get $10,000. I was going to move to California and I was going to become a big star. I had auditions lined up and everything it was going good.
What did you study in college? You study acting and film and all that stuff, or music?
No, it's so interesting. So I'm actually a three-time dropout with 2 degrees. My first college, I went in for visual art. I wanted to be a cartoonist.
Oh,
It- but as soon as it became work, I didn't want to be a
a
cartoonist.
lot of work too. A lot of meticulous work, I would
Uh,
assume.
Absolutely. So while I was in that school, I switched careers to computer science.
That's so good.
And I was studying C++ at the time. I found it too easy.
Hmm.
And I was young and I wanted to party, so I ended up dropping out for the fun. I went back into college for another semester, and then I dropped out again.
Wait, so how did your family deal with you dropping out of college at least times? How was the reaction to that?
It's not. I didn't have what would be like such a support. It was like no matter what I did, my family was not going to be happy. So it really didn't matter. If I stayed, then they weren't going to be happy, and if I dropped out, they weren't going to be happy. It was a interesting household. It was just very competitive all the time, and my sister was leading the forefront. She has her master's, and my second sister ended up graduating with her PhD. So I was the middle child. I have two younger siblings, so of course the middle child gets all that middle child hate.
Mm, wow.
um,
So the family, there was a quote, I dysfunctional family it appears to be in many ways.
yes, I didn't know it was dysfunctional until you leave it. And then you see other families and you're like, well, this is what it's supposed to be like, huh? It's like you're not going to get in trouble for that.
It is an interesting dichotomy, is that in life that you don't realize what the whole world is until you see the other world, and you think what your life is normal, even if it isn't, because you don't have anything to compare it to, really. I mean, I
Yes.
guess when you went over a friend's house and you saw other things that they had nice this and that, it might add a little bit of a difference.
I spent a lot of time at friends' house. Like if I could count, say, numerous people who I looked up to as a father figure. And I think that helped me survive the household I was in, to be honest, because I took a lot of characteristics and traits from their fathers and lessons from their fathers. But again, when you're in it, you still don't know. I thought my family was functioning just fine.
Right, right.
Nah.
Well, I guess the biggest thing is saying you have issues with difficulty with your father. It was having, or the mom and dad were fighting a lot, or
No,
they,
so I okay, so on the father thing, like my father was around until I was 10 years old. So, I sympathize with my brothers, and like my younger brothers don't really know my father like that because they were 7 when he and my mother got divorced. And almost immediately a new man moved into the household. So
wow.
it and it was super confusing because the first thing when I met him, the first thing he said to me in the house was, "You're the man of the house now." But I was not the man of the house. That's just something he said, and he would go out of his way to to prove that point. So yeah, my household was quite abusive, and I wouldn't say for the punishment's sake, because you do something wrong, slap on the wrist, you touch a hot stove, you get burned.
Mm.
But the punishment never fit the thing, and it was like I was always hyper vigilant as a child. And, part of that is probably why I always choose to fight instead of running away from things. I always choose to face the problems head on because I didn't have the luxury of leaving that household. So, for example, I first got kicked out of the household when I was 15. It's not even, it's whatever. I had to move in with my grandmother, and then I came back in and then got kicked out again. My sister left the house at 16. And so, credit where credit is due, the 3 of us turned out really fine. My younger brothers had it a little bit more rough than I did because they didn't leave.
Mm.
Yeah, so the household wasn't great. So college was well, everything, partying, college, all of that stuff was sort of a way to escape. I'd rather be out there than at home. And I remember when I was younger, I used to get into a lot of fist fights, and you never really
You win.
know.
Did you win?
I never really fought. I never really fought back. I think about it. It's like one of the biggest regrets I have. If I can go back and do high school again, I'd fight back.
Oh,
I
yeah.
never, I never really fought back because it wasn't bad. The fights that would happen in school, they weren't worse than the fights that I had to go through at home. I was fighting a grown man at home. I know it's bad, but it was my normalcy.
Right, you're used to it, yeah. But
Yeah,
what normal say is, yeah. The
if
good,
I don't, oh, go ahead.
no, no, no. I was just saying, and if they always say artists sometimes use their suffering in their art.
I think that's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it helps.
it was
It helps people relate to what they're going through in their own worlds too, which is why some artists' pain comes through to help so many people.
if I didn't have the friends I had at the time, I don't think I'd be here today.
Mm,
Just from the home standpoint, I think any other option would have been better than living in that house. That was my mindset growing up. So I would just stay out all the time and then be home when I needed to be home. When you get a little bit older, you're allowed a little bit more allowances. Oh, you don't have to come in at that 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock curfew. You can stay out later. Well, I stood out as late as possible.
mm.
So
Did you do you Rabbi, we'll go back to this now. Do you have a good relationship with your mother and father now? As
no, not at all.
now?
I think it's very amicable, but like my father, I'm dishing out all of the dirt on my family. I know I'm going to get calls if they see this. um, but my father calls
See,
me.
that's a problem for me because I really want this podcast to do well, but I
It,
also heard you seem like a nice guy. So
that was a joke. I'm sorry. I'll make it clear that was a joke. They're not. They're all aware that the past is the past. We've all moved on.
Right.
If it bothered me, I wouldn't be talking about it this bad. But for a long time, it did bother me. I mean, in a lot of my old songs, you can hear the frustration that I've had just growing up, because when I first started doing this, I started venting, but I guess I'll get to that. So when I sort of got to the college time of my life, and I was staying at home with my girlfriend at the time, and there was just like this one incident. I had just gotten my wisdom teeth pulled, and I was on, yes, and I was on Vicodin, and the stepfather I had just decided to beat me up. So cops called, all of the 9 things, and I was out. I went college. That was it. I was going to my third college at this point. I graduated that one in about a year and a half with 2 degrees. So that's kind of when I learned maybe I have some intelligence here and I don't have to, I could probably do things I didn't know I could do. But yeah, so going back to the whole California thing, when I graduated that, I went out, gonna be a star. Not really, because I got into a huge car accident. The driver of a vehicle I was in was doing 85 on a highway. We were heading to Boston, Massachusetts, and he fell asleep at the wheel. I think he fell asleep at the wheel. He says it was a steering wheel issue, but I should you be doing 85 on the highway anyway? I don't know, but
That's
he
what car
felt,
you have.
huh?
Depends what car you have. I won't tell the police that. And it depends how open the road is. Like, but we'll get another conversation.
So we go off the side of the highway and we slam into the tree. And I will remember this for the rest of my life because the passenger airbag did not go off.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know anything that happened after that. I have like sort of in and out memories of it because it was pretty traumatizing to just kind of see this like this large trunk in front of you and you're heading right to it. And so big crash, hospital. About a month later, I get into a second one. Yep, rear ended. So now at this point, everything I had lost hope in everything,
Were you
and I felt like the world had it out for me at that time. I was at rock. Oh no, I wasn't at rock bottom yet. I thought I was, and the doctors they put me on a ton of pills,
what kind
and
of
I
injuries
was
did you suffer from from the car accidents?
I couldn't really use my legs. I had to do a ton of physical therapy. I was bedridden for a really long time. I was having some serious blackouts,
Wow.
and like right now, I have a nerve damage slash disease called trigeminal neuralgia, and they say it could have just happened on its own, but from the car accident, I also could have gotten like TMJ or something could have happened, and that also could have caused it. We don't know, but the injuries were bad enough that I was bedridden for a long time. Um, Coping wasn't really I wasn't really good at it. So once I learned how to move again through all of like the exercises and the things that they had me do, I started partying again. And that's all I did. I just partied. And it was a rough time because remember I was on medication, so I'm partying on medication and I'm just probably at a really bad place. And that's when sort of things were like,
You could tell us, like, dude, so you started using heavier drugs too, or just alcohol?
no, that
Just,
thank God, no. I never did
just
heavier drugs.
right. That's
Never, yeah, I would drink a lot, but I think because growing up, I always had this idea that you always have to be aware. I never moved on to those type of things, which is
you knew where to stop.
yeah,
To
yeah.
some
I
degree.
knew where you have to draw the line at somewhere. But again, I had friends who also didn't do that,
Right.
so that was a benefit. They didn't think it was smart to try any of that stuff. They didn't think it was smart to do any of that. And luckily for me, they were around.
Mhm. And
And
did you,
so
this friend that got in the car, you got in a car accident, did you forgive him? Did you go on with him, or how did he end up with his car accident?
he's fine.
Nothing happened to him.
No, he had some injuries, but that was it. Because
You
we
know
hit the
what?
tree,
It's a weird car accident. You can't like say, "Oh, that tree got in my way." I mean, why couldn't the tree move out of the way?
the,
That's
the
the
tree is
word.
off the side of the
Yeah,
highway.
it's like you
It's
can't blame the tree. It's like the worst. Like, you want to blame somebody, but there's nothing. I mean, he says a wheel, but the tree is like press the brake. I mean, there's a tree.
yeah.
It's a really lame. I don't, sorry, it's a really bad one. It's
The
so
tree is over there.
yeah, right.
But he had to go through monetary issues, obviously his car and things like that. And he had to deal with the court system because it was me and two other people in the back seat and him.
Oh,
So I'm
wow.
sure he went through his own trouble. Forgive, I never really held it against him. I think I think it's because I have seen worse in my life that I only had room for so much hate on one side. I couldn't hate him.
Wow.
So yeah, it never. I just kind of hated the world.
And you thought you were dealt him too many blows, and this is not.
Yes.
It's not just,
To
not fair. Why me? All that stuff. You said you didn't hit rock bottom till when? You said you hit rock bottom at one point.
So that was after. So I'm partying, and with all the medications and the alcohol, I was listening to the radio a lot, and the radio was terrible music at the time. It was all super hyped up party music. Let's do drugs. And I was just like, this is not what I want to hear right now. And I just kept sinking lower and lower and lower and lower. And then finally, like, you just kind of know when you want it to be over. So I made a huge decision because I didn't have family support. And the one thing I knew how to do was music. That's all I could do at the time. My dream was over. I went to school for, audio and media technology and digital film and video. So I have two bachelors of science in that. And it was just like right now I can't do anything.
We're gonna
So
okay, we're gonna pause right now for commercial break. And we're gonna find out how Mr. Bell, overcame all this horribleness that went through his life. Okay, we're back. Let's see here with how this great recovery of your life from accidents and family, dysfunctional family, that you were able to come back. How this help
yes,
about?
but if you don't mind, I'd like to just push it. It gets deeper.
Okay, all right.
This decision I made was to take the full bottle of pills that were given to me by my doctors. And if I survive this, I'm never doing anything like that again. I had like the trippiest night of my life. It was a whole bunch of, I took everything I had. And I shouldn't be here because that's insane. Like I think it was something like 9 sleeping pills, the rest of the Vicodin, Flexerol. I downed everything. I was like, I'm out. This sucks. Everything sucks. And it didn't, it didn't take me. I overcame that somehow. I hallucinated for the entire night, sweats, chills, the whole 9 yards, any kind of sickness you can think of, the vomiting, all of it. The body said, this is not happening. We're surviving. And the next morning I woke up, any prescriptions I had, threw them all away. I even took my college degrees and I ripped up the physical things in half. And I just it was like I destroyed the old me and I became the new me. And I just went to work. All I had was a computer. I had a microphone, and at the time, you couldn't get any of the stuff at Target or anything like that. It was just what I had. It was one microphone, a computer. I didn't have any professional software or anything, and I just wrote. And I wrote songs. I did one a day until I had about 13. And anything that bothered me, I put it into words.
You didn't go to therapy or anything. You did all the stuff. And you get woke up the next day, nothing. You were just okay.
The world really had it out for me. Before this, in my low times, I did try therapy. Before I made that decision, I did try therapy. Problem was, my aunt was also seeing the same therapist, and I
Mhm.
don't have a great family support. So something's there. She's taking whatever she's hearing in therapy and bringing it back to the household and twisting the story. And now the family's starting to look at me like I'm a villain because I'm injured. You go to school, you're supposed to get out of school, get a job, pay your loans. What happens when you can't get a job because you're injured?
Right.
So family did not support that. And after I did this self album, it gets worse. Um, my family decided I was of no worth to them, so they kicked me out and put me on the street. And I remember the heartbreaking moment that I called my mother and I said, I need a place to stay because my grandmother kicked me out. And that same boyfriend she was with, she took him back and she told me, his mom's here. We don't have any room for you. And
How,
that's like
how old are you when this happened?
I was in my early 20s.
So you have no place to live. You're really not making any real money, and
I,
everything.
I I had nothing.
And so what?
I
So at that moment, and this is after you recorded all these songs, or is it?
Yes,
You recorded all your music, okay? And then what do you do now? So what do you do?
I
What
lived on the street.
did you have, like, when you say living on the street, you mean you slept on the street itself?
I lived on the street. I mean,
You
I
know, those people
literally
had the signs that say, please help me, or stuff like that type of thing? Or did you like,
I I didn't use any. I was young. I didn't, someone like me isn't taught how to use like the government resources. We're not taught that. So I didn't even know. So I lived on the street. And I mean, I lived on the street from New Bedford, Massachusetts to Bridgeport, Connecticut. I slept, I believe it's called the Heinz Bridge in Boston.
Okay.
I slept there. I
What's
used to
the
go,
bridge?
yep. I used to go in not hospitals. I used to go into hotels and the ones that have like the chessboards. I used to pretend I was playing chess just to sleep.
Oh, we're at the bottom. We have to be at the bottom now. This is
We are at the bottom.
okay.
This is
Okay, we're
the
gonna.
lowest.
Okay, I'm sorry. I definitely will. We're gonna do another commercial break, and we're gonna hear the uplifting part of the story. Okay, we are back. We are ready. Bella's on the street. I mean, you don't get much worse than this. You have your family's left you. I mean, you have a cell phone. I mean, I don't know how. I've always wondered how you have a cell phone, by the way, if you
I
live on
have
the
a
street.
one that's not working well.
Right. I know, but
Yeah.
who's paying the monthly bill? I mean, how's that work?
Again, so I had a little bit of money left over because I worked 3 jobs in college,
Oh,
but it wasn't enough.
you-
And
I mean, could you live with a friend like in between?
I reached out. So here's my closest friend who I consider a brother, not by blood, but he is family to me. He's the closest friend I have. He went to the Philippines to meet who is now his wife.
Wow. So he
So
left.
he's in the Philippines
Okay.
and I'm here.
How long are you in the street for? Living in the street, homeless for
About a month.
a month.
And then so I lived on the street for a month, but because I had this album and because I had the knowledge of music, I ended up Connecticut, Bridgeport, Connecticut is huge in the music scene.
Okay.
Well, back then it was really big. And again, music wasn't something people could just go on YouTube and find out how to do back then. So my knowledge helped me out and I started working in studios to live in the hallways.
You
So
lived in
now
a,
I had access to showers and bathrooms and a place to sleep and stuff like that. It was
did
still
they
the hallway.
did your manager know, your boss know that you were living on the street like that?
Uh,
And the idea
did who?
when you got jobs to work at a studio, did they know that you were living on the street?
Well, it wasn't jobs. They it
Oh,
Bridgeport, Connecticut is like industrial buildings. I mean, you could imagine being the lowest working class. So
mhm.
they're working what would be considered today bedroom studios, but they're not in bedrooms. That's what it was. Things were just getting started, but they had a roof and they knew I would sleep in the hallways. And then eventually I met one producer in Bridgeport who let me actually sleep in the second room of the studio, which had, couches and things like that. So you can see it starting to progress. And at
Mhm.
the same time, I'm pushing this music and everybody wants to keep me around because like, this is great. This is great. The song that I had at the time everybody loved was Blacked Out. And it was obviously about the partying experiences that I had. And everyone just enjoyed it so much. And then the person that I was with also had a camera. So now I'm shooting my first music video. And it starts to build from there. That hits the internet and that gets something like 40,000 views way back in 2013. And that was a big deal. So now the Twitter account that I have started blowing up and I was like, oh my God, I'm not ready for this. Deletes my Twitter account. Like I'm still living in hallways. Like I can't handle this. But A&Rs start emailing me. We want to record demos. We want you to come here. So things start to build up a little bit. At the time I didn't know how many sharks are going to be in the music industry. I only knew what I knew from college. You don't know people. But it didn't matter. People were calling me, people were interested because that was happening. The people around me were supportive now, not family, but the artistry. So now I'm doing shows. Now things are starting to rise a little bit. Got off the street. It was literally the music that I made that got me off of the street.
Just
Isn't that something?
it is amazing. So I'm just saying, like, you were making money on the music, which is amazing in today's times.
Back then, I wasn't so back then again, I wasn't making money. And I
But
wasn't making money because we didn't have Spotify. We
right.
didn't have, YouTube wasn't paying out. And I didn't even know how to make money on the internet from this stuff because it was before the time. But money wasn't important to me. Safety and security was. And that's what I was making. So that was more valuable. I think to me, music was never about making money in the first place. I don't ever need to see a dime because it's a form of art, it's a form of protest, and it's a form of therapy.
Right. I'm just saying, but you had enough to at least get off the street from
Yes,
that
absolutely.
old struggle.
100%.
So that's a little bit of a plus there. And then it continued to grow to
It did grow for a while, yeah. It
and
grew. It did. pretty well for me for quite a few years, but I never had the easy path. I'm still on the hard path,
Well,
and
hopefully,
that's kind.
hopefully podcast will help build up that. We want that
This
path.
is the one. This
This
is
is
the
the
one right
one.
here.
This is the one that's gonna
I
do
feel it. I feel it.
it. And your music is a form of like hip hop, or is it country, rock, any little combination? Would you?
I categorize it as pop.
Okay.
Um, I
And
think it was more pop back then. Today, I still make pop music because it follows that pop feeling, but it is sort of like its own thing. It is hard to put into a category because, like I said, when I started, I didn't have the instruments, I didn't have the computer software, it wasn't out, so I just kind of did what I did, and it ended up, which I will say, as an original sound of the time.
you do all this stuff now to make other income. I guess you work in the studios too now, I guess, as well, right? Suppose
No,
just total music.
well, I invested.
Hmm.
When I made money, I invested,
And it's
and by investing, that made more money than I ever made on music. So
there you go. Okay, we're gonna talk about that soon. So before we go on for more of your story, want to hear some weird facts?
absolutely, I love weird
I don't
facts.
know. I don't like we call them Snapple facts. People like to say that. Do you know that in the NBA, there's only been 4 NBA outdoor games? All the games have been indoor. It's only 4 times they've had outdoor games. Isn't that interesting how the NBA always stayed indoors?
That is fantastic. I never thought of that.
You know, it's funny because when I made my first film called All Screwed Up, I was going to do a football film. And
Oh,
I decided to go basketball because it's indoor and it's easy to control. But imagine if I learned out that basketball is outdoors, I may have made a wholly different film. Yeah,
you wouldn't have, you might have not even done it. You would have
exactly.
said,
Yeah. And then one more interesting facts. In the 1930s, they had the first GPS. It was analog GPS, and it was tied to your speedometer. Can't believe in the 1930s they had that.
in the
In
30s.
the 30s. Isn't that wild? I think it's so weird.
When I think of I'm terrible with history. When I think of the 30s, I think of just buggies.
I mean, the first cars had it. I don't know why it fell out and then it came back now, but it's so weird that they had it. I mean, when I first started driving, there was no GPS and I get lost going down my street. So like I had a plan for like another 40 minutes just to like plan to go anywhere because it's so confusing. There was actually maps. You had to look at maps to go where.
You had to print them out from online. You had to
There was
go
no
through the
online.
pictures.
No, there was no
Oh
online
yeah.
either. I'm going back. There was no rocks. All right. So, well, and we also go on to leadership skills,
Okay,
and what you need to be a good leader. I think this is very true today more than ever. A leader has to know when to leave, when they are not right for the position that they are, and they have to
I
be able
agree.
to put a plan together for someone else to succeed them.
I agree
Oh,
100%.
and now we know right now that it's not happening in this
No, none at all. That nope, nowhere near.
And this goes to the issues. One of the issues is you want a leader who has competence to actually not hire, I'm sorry, hires people of competence, not hires people because they're filling to some blank position. Oh, I need this person who's a gay, I need this person who's a black, I need this person. No, you need to put in competent people, whatever they are, and not worry that they fill some quote void.
Yes,
Now in terms of music yourself, I mean, I can assume like how do you break in, how do you even, there's so many people want to get music out there, how
hmm
do you get your music shown in the world? There's so much, how does that happen?
by accident. No, I'm kidding.
That's
I,
why the most honest answer I got in years.
I mean, mine was complete accident, but I've learned how it happened, how I managed to garner some attention from people. One, I think you have to understand like not everyone's gonna like your stuff, and that right there will help you build the confidence in yourself to put it out and find the people who do like it. And then two, you have to put it when you're starting, you have to put it everywhere because you don't know who's going to like it. Nowadays we have social media and things like that. Back in the day, though, we had word of mouth, showing it to everyone you meet, and it may be a little bit shameless, but that's the goal, right? You make music, you want to share it, don't be afraid to show it. You never know who you'll find who's going to be very open-minded and very receptive of your songs. That's what happened to me. That was that. The first video I put up blowing up to 40,000, that was a complete accident. I don't know. I can't speak to that, but I can speak to me going to clubs when I was out here and finally stable, and then asking DJs to play the song. Most of them said no, but a lot of them, like the other ones, did say yes. And then they play it, and then they say it's my song, and then people come to me and they're like, "Oh, we love that song," and then you party with them.
But then now you're saying to me, like when you do like songs now, it's all free, basically. It's not like it used to be, right? So how does someone
Yeah,
make money? How do you make money in the music industry? Is it
you
merch?
spend money. You spend money to make money. That's all. Is merch. I wouldn't even say it's merch. Personally, I want to just be completely transparent, honest. I love being transparent. I don't think you can make money in the music industry without another like a side thing. I try to approach this whole career as just music. I don't stream video games. I don't, I'm not really on social media. I just do the music content, and I'm hoping to do more music videos because I love doing the film stuff. But you really want to have something else that helps you build attention. A lot of other artists I see, they have TikToks and they have Instagram reels, and they do that comedy skits. They provide information. That's how you build your following in 2024. The music that you make is basically 10% of it, because I mean, throw a rock in a crowd and you'll hit somebody that makes music.
Right, right. And so, but you said you do other things too to make the monies that the things you
Well,
invest.
I just kind of live off of my investments. Yeah.
So,
Music, the when I do music now, I do it because I have a message and
all
I
right,
want to share it.
all right. So, do you have an invest? I'm going to. I usually go to my investments, but I'd like to hear one of your. Is it okay if you can tell us one of your investments?
I don't really want to talk about my investments. I will talk about the general idea of investments, but
Okay.
I don't
I'm
really
going to talk
talk
about
about
my
money like that.
investments in a minute. No problem. No,
Okay.
that's cool. That's cool. I'm going to go before, but you're saying to the only way that you can do is that you got to get your music out to all different people. Don't be afraid to talk about it. But the big problem that people have is some people are going to hate it, and it's going to hurt. I don't know if
Oh
they're
my, it
honest with
hurts.
you. I don't know if they could tell you straight up. I mean, but if people like say, even the look that they give you, it's got to feel.
It it I will say this. It hurts. I have thick skin, but it hurts. Because you suddenly start caring about someone you didn't know, you don't have any history with, but then they give you that opinion. And I've had this to me. That's trash. You should
Wow,
quit. Yes,
wow,
I've had people straight up say that. And I'm just like, I care so much about this person's opinion. Now I don't even know who he is.
that's crazy. So you put so much in. Yeah, they can actually. People are actually that blunt. They're
Mhm.
actually that blunt.
They're
Wow.
more blunt if they don't know you.
that
Because you have no
that
friendship or
is one of those
connection.
things I hate, by the way, because I'll go my hate list. We'll go a little further. I hate no without an answer. Without a reason, I'd say. I don't care that you don't like what I do or what
Hmm.
I say, but you just say it sucks or this is bad and nothing. Absolutely
Nothing.
nothing. And you're like, wait, maybe I could do this a little. No, there's nothing. And you don't even know how to get further with the person because they're almost angry at your stuff.
Yeah.
And that doesn't help you. It doesn't help. I don't know. It doesn't move anything, you know? Now, if
Right.
someone is going to criticize, they're going to have a conversation about it. Maybe your vocals were a little low, or maybe it's a little bit more drum, whatever the hell it is, or you need more of this. That's fine. You can look at it and you can say yes or disagree. But when they say no, or this sucks, or whatever, where do I go from there?
You know what? I'm gonna have to contrast that if you don't mind.
Well,
I'll take a no without the reason, because some of the pushback I've had on these things is like, you're not a very good rapper, and I'm like, I'm not rapping, because rap now is very melodic and things like that. Other things have been like, oh, you're, like you said, your vocals are too low and you should really raise this or do this and do that, from somebody who doesn't actually make music.
yeah, I mean, you get people like want to be critics that don't know what the heck they're talking about.
Exactly.
I
And
know,
that's
yes, I know. That's a good point too. It's just sometimes you get outside opinions that can be helpful. Sometimes someone
yes.
could say something that doesn't even not in the industry, but you don't even see that angle, and they give you something that, hey, you know what? That's an interesting way of looking at it that I might not have seen it. If you,
Yes.
it could
That
happen too. there's two ways in that. But
Yes.
if you don't get any, I mean, the criticism without anything is just totally annoying. The second thing I'm going to put up to hate, because I have two hates today. It's funny because yesterday I went to the best party. The best
Oh,
party. Yeah, you know why it's the best party?
why?
But it wasn't at my house, but I didn't have to drive there. So
Oh,
So it was on my block. I don't know if my neighbors on my block. I didn't say this, but it was two parties on my block. Imagine there's two parties on my block, so I can walk this way and I go and hang out, have a few drinks there and have some food. And then I'm done. I want to take a nap. I can go back because it's a couple blocks away from my house. So I can come to my house and relax and then go to the other party and come back and it's fine. No cleanup. There's nothing to clean up, which is always nice to have. And at the end, it's July 4th, so fireworks. So that was always great too. And it was just so mellow. It was such a fun party that, it's like when you got to drive to party, you can't drink, you shouldn't drink when you drive.
yeah, absolutely.
Unless someone else is driving. And then it's okay. But even then, it's a little bit annoying because you get nauseous in the car and
Mm-hmm.
drive home. And then the other idea, if it's your own party, people want to stay too long.
Yes.
And I've had issues where I have my pajamas on, I have the lights off.
And people are still going. It's like
I
I
don't
don't know
want
if
to
you've
leave. It's
gotten
like
the I don't know if
it's
you've
like
gotten the signal. Do I have to send out an email? Like, do you need me to text you all to tell you, hey, the party's
security. I
over,
mean,
go
it's over.
home?
Right, right. I just want to stay. I don't know if they have no life or this is like so. I mean, it's like, okay, I'm yawning in front of you. I,
You have
I wake up
everything.
the next morning and they're still there. That's
You keep saying, oh man, I wish I can go to sleep now.
fine. It's amazing. People just don't not leave parties sometimes. There's always that one person who wants to stay longer,
Hmm.
hoping that one attractive person will somehow pop in their eye and I guess, to be taken away or something. I don't know what it is.
Everyone's got hopes and dreams.
That's what's good about July 4th party. When the fireworks are over, everyone has to go home.
Everyone kind of knows, yeah.
I mean, you could stay, but it's just, that's it. It's over then. July
No
4th.
pun intended, but it goes out with a bang.
Yeah, it is. Very good, very good. Okay, so I have some also business ideas. I don't think I ever brought this up. So you're good. You're good at like maybe marketing. A while ago,
Maybe.
I had an idea, which I put this on another podcast. I'll probably do. I'm getting older. Maybe I'm repeating myself. Maybe get a little JB. Hopefully not. Um, a compact can, which is a can that you push down, like the tent cans. Like you might want to
Okay.
you can clean this can because it's compact. You can carry it around because it's
Okay.
squeezable, you know, and it's so easy to transport. Like what happened is I have a place I transfer. You can't transfer more than one can with you, but this compact can, boom, a whole bunch. I
Yeah.
came out with a video for it. I did the whole 9 yards. I got a patent for it. The problem with me is I needed a manufacturer to do it, and
Ooh.
I didn't push it that hard. But because if you do it yourself, that's a lot of money to make your own can, then your whole marketing, the whole 9 yards. So anybody out there that has a garbage can company that wants to make compact can with me, let me know. I still have I don't know if it's still pending, but I thought it was a really cool idea. What do you think of that one?
I think it's okay. I think it's a possibility. I mean,
All right, now another one I thought of just recently was
okay.
called Find It. And this is for anybody that has dogs like me. So the idea is I have a robot mop cleaning thing,
Okay.
but the problem is it doesn't find it. If you know what I mean, the dogs like leave things for me, and
Yeah.
sometimes they like presents, and sometimes in the middle of the night you don't want that present to step in. So Find It would go around and clean the messes before you have that problem.
That's a good one.
You
I think
have a
that's a
dog?
good one.
Do you have a dog?
No, I don't have one now. I used to long time ago.
Okay. Now you didn't want to talk about your investment ideas.
No.
I'm gonna give you two of mine. We have two right now. Hope I don't have another one for next week. One is Walgreens. Walgreens stock is been pretty low. They
Yeah.
have quite a business. Their price is like almost 52-week low. Now I always do I tell everybody I do puts and calls.
Yep.
So I did a put at $11 and change for January, assuming the stock will go up by then. And if it doesn't, I'll buy it maybe a little lower and hold on
Okay.
to it. Very good company for me. I also mentioned something that's a little depressing, but it's definitely true. I always believe that when bad news happens to a company, and the company's not going to business, that's the time to buy it. And I say that with airlines as a good example. If God forbid there's an airline crash or something like that, hopefully no one gets hurt in the crash, but that's the time you buy the stock because that's when they usually
Right.
get that price. And they're not going to business again, most likely. So,
Yes, I actually agree with you. Buy when it's low. Don't panic and sell if you have it. Buy more when it's low. Buy
yeah,
when it's low.
just try it through. I'm adding my new feature just for you today. As
Oh.
a podcast host, I have to celebrate other podcasts. And one
Mhm.
podcast that I like right now, I just started watching, is called You're Not So Smart. And the episode is about genius and what makes someone a genius. And they had like this person, it's very, very intellectual. Just like I use my brain. It's like they have this such like this genius person that's just finding what makes someone a genius. And they had like a therapist talking about it and all the different ways that we just find a genius and so forth. This is one episode, but it's like very intellectual. So you want to drive and use your mind. You Are Not So Smart. It's a very good podcast.
I want to check that out.
Yes, just to let you know. And I will be adding to that feature next episode too. So I'm going to celebrate other podcasts out there. I wanted to ask you another thing. I had a conversation with this. I'm glad this is like a private conversation. Maybe I don't know if this part of the podcast will get popular, but it's interesting how people this is new. This is actually new too, by the way.
Okay.
How people define what is pretty. Some people we all look at a rose and we all say that's basically pretty. Most people will say a rose is pretty, but some people say this person that they're dating is pretty, and other people say they're not. And how people define, how we all see things differently. I think growing up, everyone thought Christine Brinkley was pretty, as an example. So that's way past your time. But there always was some beautiful woman that always they called the model of the guy or some good looking guy, Tom Cruise, whatever, that everyone thought was good looking. But in relationships, people date people that other people find not attractive, yet they will find it attractive. Is it because the personality of that person usurps their looks, or is it that they just see things differently?
I think they just see things differently. I think just like my favorite color is blue. What is your favorite color?
That's unacceptable. Sorry.
Well, I also have this belief that
As long as
I also
that
have this
as long as that pink, it's okay. That's all. Pink is not this forbidden. Although I'm
well,
gonna
I have the same feeling about green.
oh
Green
my
is
gosh, I
atrocious
love
to
green.
me.
I love green.
Green is atrocious, see? So that proves my point right there.
Oh my god. How can you hate green? Green is like
Because I don't
why
it's just
did
it's
someone
disgusting
beat
to
you
me.
did someone beat you with a green leaf or something? I don't get that.
Well, I'm allergic to like
I don't
trees, grass, pollen, and weeds,
oh
and that's
okay.
all green.
That makes sense. Yeah,
I hate green. It's just not a pretty color to me.
all
It's
right. I'll rethink green maybe. I'll try to
no, you can have yours, but that illustrates the point is that people like different things. So what we see as unattractive may be attractive to someone else. I did read a study, I think it was a couple of years ago, about dating sites, and that the people who most users found to be around the middle, just okay, they got less than the people that were found to be attractive or unattractive because the extremes were the ones that got more dates.
Hmm.
And I think that kind of adds to this conversation here. I think it's if you can't hate something, you can't love something. So just like I hate green, but I love blue, it's probably vice versa for you. So
Right.
if blue and green were people were gonna date, I
I
would
go
look
to
at
green.
your,
Yeah.
say, nah, but you would look at mine and be like, that person is unacceptable.
It was funny because I once had a good friend of mine and they gotta be honest with your friends. And he said, this is my girlfriend's pretty. I said, well, she has a nice personality. So I didn't want to, to me, she wasn't pretty. I didn't want to lie. So I tried to get out of that. And after that, I think we were very good friends after that. I think he married her.
I also think that like our brains, they have chemicals in them that shape the way we view the world.
Right.
Much like if you drink alcohol, your perspective of things change after so many drinks. I think it's the same with, dopamine and serotonin. When we're in love or we're highly infatuated, looks maybe don't matter. We see this person as probably the most beautiful person in the world because that's what we are all about.
That's interesting.
While
Yeah, the chemistry may affect what we say.
I think so, yeah.
So drink a lot. No, just I don't know. Although, yeah, last night was like a miracle. I had a lot. and nothing happened. And he's like, "Good thing." That was really good. It's really good.
It's good.
But so once in a while, not too often. But again, I wasn't driving. It didn't cost me any money, which is what you can
No,
do.
that's great.
3 rules of drinking if you decide to drink. It's not far from your house. You can walk. It's very good.
Hmm.
Doesn't cost you money, and it doesn't destroy your relationships in the long run. Yeah, I think that's sweet. It's another rule. There's another rule.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one because you have to
Last one?
rely on other people following those rules
No,
too.
yeah, but you know that it's not going to be like you have to. It's not like you have to. It's once in a blue moon. Like maybe
Right.
once you have a little more to drink, like a bar mitzvah, a wedding, or July 4th. This like, and it's not like it's Monday. I have to drink. No, Monday's not the only drink. You're not drinking alone. You're not. It's more social. Well, that's okay once in a blue moon, but it's not. It's not like it's Tuesday drinking day. So no, that's what I'm saying. The difference. So before we get to my final thoughts, if people want to know more about you and about your music and get in touch with you, how can they do so?
The internet, Google, it's all over there. That's the best way to do it. Social media, I post the updates that people see. I'm not really on there as much as maybe I should be, but I'm always working. And so
Give me your Google name or how we can find you
Belle
officially.
Vex. I was fortunate that I started so many years ago because everything is just at Belle Vex.
Can you
B
spell that
E
out?
L L E V E X.
Belle Vex, everyone. And that's
Yep.
on every way. Just do that Bella Vex and
Just everywhere.
it's on YouTube, all your videos, all your stuff.
Yep.
Look at and what are you coming out with? Any new type of music? Any different
Oh, I'm so excited for the new stuff that I'm working on. I mean, even before we started today, I was working on a brand new song. I was just fixing up some details. Oh, I've been teasing this song called Mania, which is actually about a situation where I was given a pill that I'm allergic to, and that sent me on this whole manic experience of life. Really excited to share that. The music video is already shot, but I'm thinking I'll take the footage I have and turn it into a short film
wow.
just because I really want to do film stuff. But I do have 2 to 3 other songs coupled with that. I don't know if I'm going to release some first and cruise it out until I'm ready to release this, but I can't wait for everyone to hear it. The sound is unique to me, and it's really anthemic. It's going to get you moving while you'll also be able to experience the same experiences that I experience, and I can't wait.
Yeah, so the music that you're working on, like how you say you evolved as a musician in terms of like
I I came
you were
I
down.
came
Now is your music when they hear your music is more happier now? Is it down? Was it all over the where would you say?
so I came a long way. When I first put it out, I was very frustrated with life, and I hated life, and I had to save myself, and that's what my music was about. It wasn't about saving the listeners; it was about saving me. Now I knew people could use it if they relate; it will help them because it helped me. Then after that, mission accomplished. I actually wrote a short EP called 15 Minutes of Fame. Ironically, it talked about how people would do anything for views and really want that stardom, so they'd practically sell themselves. It may have been too soon because here we are today and that was back then. Um so then after that, I had sort of, I got the house over my head. I got the roof, I got everything, and I was chill. So I started reminiscing and thinking, and my music really got slower, still a bit groovy, but it was more about thinking on the past and the things that I experienced and talking about stuff that I probably should have talked about before, relationships, unrequited love, my friends and how they saved me, how we had a good time partying all. I did that for a while, but because I started doing softer music, the people around me and the people I had known for all these times, they started to look down on me and started to, come over, say, let's work on music, but they never finished anything. And people were actually leaving my place with equipment,
Mm.
taking stuff from me. People have, calling me and asking for money. All of the things that happen when you start to get a little bit of renown were happening. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So after I went through a small health crisis, my nerve situation, diagnosing that, and after I got used to everything and cleared it, I wrote a whole mess of songs again, almost like I was back at the beginning. It was very synergistic. And now my music is back to being not slow. It's back to being very semi aggressive, very anthemic, very upbeat, very poppy, I think it's a good time for dance music. I also have some songs that are slower, but I want to pull on heartstrings. That's what I want to do. I want to challenge your heart. I want to challenge your desires. Whatever it is that you think you want, I want to ask you, do you really want that? And I
Interesting.
want to show you why you might not.
You know, what's cool about following a musician is you will follow their life actually as they evolve. You listen to music, you see how the person evolves as an artist, which is it's really interesting. I'm glad I got to speak to you today, especially because now I get to hear your music and hear you evolve, and it's going to be very interesting. We listen to a little music here and there. It sounds really exciting. I will always leave on a final note, and I think this is going to be pretty appropriate here. I never know where I'm going to go. I always write these things before, but I think the big thing about life is you have to know to pick battles and wars. And sometimes in life, you know, you just got to let it flow. Just got to let it go and just go with the punches, as the saying goes. That's literally
Absolutely.
not get in the thing. And then there are other times when you really have to draw a line. The hardest thing to do, especially if you're somebody who likes to be, let's say, a pleaser or someone who wants to like just doesn't like conflict, is to actually have to get in that conflict and say, no, this is it. I can't go any further.
You
And
wrote these beforehand?
yeah, yeah.
This is so perfect. Continue, please. This is so perfect.
It's so hard because it's the hardest thing in the world is that, if you're that type of person, the people pleaser, or ever say, you know what, I'm not going here. I'm not gonna go, even if it causes so much pain for me, and you get so scared because of that type of thing, but you have to draw your lines, pick your battles, let the things go that aren't that important, and pull the things that you have that are strong. And I always, maybe God willing, you get the strength to do both. You know the difference, which is worthy of fighting and which is worthy of just letting it go. And hopefully we all can do more of that. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's
I
a
want to thank you for
pleasure.
having me.
And I can't wait to see you continued success and only uplifting spirits come through. God willing, this will be a great time for your life. And
I'm
really,
gonna keep this. I'm gonna keep this whole podcast in my heart as I go forward.
thank you. I appreciate it. All the best.
I'm gonna make sure I'm making sure I know that you're watching
I'm going to be
because
listening.
I'm I'm gonna do it.
Sounds great. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great one.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.